Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Political Power Ranker, our weekly political show tracking the movers, shakers, and rule makers from the federal government to your local governments. And joining me, as always, the star of the show, Spencer Kimball, Emerson College polling director. Hello, Spencer. Welcome to another edition.
Chris, thanks for having me, and we look forward to this preview show. But it looks like you've got a little preview of yourself going on over there with that stage behind you.
Oh my goodness, I'm at another debate site. Last week I was, if you remember, I was in New Jersey for a governor and lieutenant governor events. This week, Next Star and our team here are producing the only Virginia governor debate, and that's pairing a couple of interesting opponents. We've got the incumbent lieutenant governor, Winsome Earl-Sears, and the challenger Democrat Abigail Spanberger. Now, Spanberger, just kind of set the scene, is got somewhere around a 10-point lead-ish. And I say ish because there's a controversy brewing here in Virginia, and that's pretty much unfolded over the past week, where Attorney General candidate Jason Mayoral is up against Jay Jones. Jay Jones, a Democrat challenger. Revealed this week, and all across all the media, you may have read about it, those of you who track PPR, ardent watchers of political news, Jay Jones sent some texts back in 2022 that were offensive to many, even Abigail Spanberger calling it disgusting, where he basically threatened the lives of the former Speaker of the House's children, among other things. Pretty out there stuff, even for the most ardent political person. Now, Jones has since apologized, but it has lit this race on fire. And we want to take a moment here, and since we're at Norfolk State University, to introduce Eric Lavelle. He's a political analyst at Norfolk State, and Eric is going to join me just to talk a little bit about the Jay Jones race, the debate here tonight. So, number one, does this Jay Jones controversy impact the debate tonight?
Well, Chris, again, talk about an October surprise. So what we're seeing, and what I believe in the polls and other analysts are seeing, is that individuals who have voted already, their votes are cast. And we believe that individuals who are supporting their respective parties are going to continue to support their party. However, you do have those independent voters. This is a time where you will have voters take a look at the candidates individually as opposed to just a ticket. So we could see a margin of victory on either side, very, very different from what we would see if they were voting down ballot for the ticket.
So there are going to be ticket splitting, you think?
It definitely, on some ballots, there will be ticket splitting.
And Jason Mayoral has been kind of, he's not been, he's a non-offensive Republican to Virginians, pretty much. He's been kind of a more quiet than the Governor Youngkin and the Lieutenant Governor.
Well, when you take a look at some of the policies that the Attorney General is championing, that's what's galvanizing some voters on the other side and also on his side as well. So as it relates to issues, I think the voters are locked in. Is how voters are going to look at this issue that we're seeing now in the media, and then also what's going to happen next week. Keep in mind, our political time here in this country and in the Commonwealth, it changes daily, it changes overnight almost, and every week there's something new. So we'll see how that impacts this as well.
And he hasn't really lost any Democratic endorsements to date. How come?
Well, we're looking at less than 30 days out before the election. I don't think you're going to see a lot of individuals call for the Attorney General candidate to drop out. Some are silent, of course, and some have also given statements regarding this particular issue. So because of the closeness of the race, I think individuals are locked in, and others are saying, what about the context of those messages that went out? Does that play a part as well? So when we take a look at this particular race, this is a ticket, this is where it's at, and this will be what we see on November 4th.
So you're also saying then with that comment that Jay Jones doesn't drop out between now and Election Day?
If he hasn't dropped out yet, I don't think he's going to drop out.
Awesome. And well, let me ask you one other question, because he did cancel a couple of fundraisers this week. Why would he do that?
Well, again, when you take a look at issues like October surprise and the like, you're trying to wait to see if the political winds are changing, if there's another issue that overtakes it, and to let things settle down. So from a political strategist standpoint, I see why he canceled fundraisers, and also there may be some questions with funders as well.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Eric Clavel, Norfolk State University. Eric, thanks very much for being with us.
Thanks so much, Chris.
Political Power Ranker. Appreciate it. But let's take a look at those numbers, Spence, from the Abigail Spanberger, Lieutenant Governor Winsome Earl-Sears race.
Yeah, if you look here, Chris, we had that race at a 1-point race back in January. Over the course of this campaign, prior to those text messages coming out, Spanberger had built up a 10-point lead. And so the question is, does this put a drag on the ticket and pull her down? We had already seen in some of the other polling ticket splitting with that AG race, where we had it, the governor race around 10 points. The AG race was closer to 5 to 6 points. We'll see if that number creeps lower to a tied race, and we'll see if that impacts Spanberger's lead as well, or if it just stays isolated within that AG race.
Historically, what have you seen that could give Winsome Sears some additional hope to close the gap? Is there anything there that you can point to?
Well, she's not doing as well with the mail vote as Trump did. She's splitting the mail vote with Spanberger, and she's losing the female vote by 20 points. So if she can make up ground with male voters on this issue and be able to move the needle a little bit, there she can make up some ground. But 10 points is a lot to make up. She makes up 3-4. That's not going to be enough. But in the AG race, that makes it very competitive. It'll be interesting in the debate tonight how Winsome Earl-Sears is able to connect Spanberger with these comments and try to drag her popularity down as well.
So for all you folks watching, this is being recorded on October 9th. So we don't know what's going to happen in the debate tonight. I can share that we've got some interesting questions, but we don't know what's going to happen. But let's find out more how all this Jason Jones events this week have been playing out on the ground in Virginia. We're going to bring in again our man on the ground, Andy Fox, Wavy TV political reporter. Andy, what's the vibe in Norfolk that with the Jason Jones controversy?
Well, the people I've been speaking with, they want to see a good show. I mean, they want to see an aggressive debate, and they are the Winsome Earl-Sears supporters very happy on Monday morning to see a commercial come out tying Spanberger in with Jones and this whole controversy. And they're hoping, because to be honest with you, a lot of people are not happy with how this campaign's been run on the part of Winsome Earl-Sears, and they're hoping for a change in that they hope comes tonight. And they desperately think that their candidate needs to do extremely well in this to change the narrative and to talk about these other big issues that they think are important, dealing with the economy, education, and also healthcare. And they are hoping that will be the discussion. And they are hoping that as far as Winsome Earl-Sears goes, continues with commercials that are tying Spanberger with Jay Jones and hoping that benefits Winsome Earl-Sears.
Spencer, how often do we see down ballot ticket splitting that actually carries another candidate across the line?
Well, each state is unique. Some are going to be, like here in Massachusetts, we'll vote for a Republican governor, but no Republican federal offices. So you see a lot of ticket splitting. We're seeing that in New Jersey right now, and we're going to see what happens in Virginia with that governor's race and then things down the ballot. But ticket splitting is very popular. And as Eric mentioned, when you have the independents, the Republicans are going to generally vote Republican, the Democrats vote Democrat, but it's those independents that are the swing vote, and they're just tuning into this race. So even though the early voting started, we would estimate that it's under 10% of the total vote that's come in already. So there's still room and a lot of vote out there to make the case. But I also find in these controversies, it's sometimes not the best angle for the candidate to be making those attacks. I think as Andy pointed out, and we'll look at the next screen on the economy, that's where Earl-Sears is really falling behind Spanberger on a top issue. If she was winning on the economy and then you have the secondary issue coming in here with Jay Jones, that would put her in a sweet spot. But unfortunately, on the Republican side, she's really lost a lot of ground on the economy and has to make it up tonight.
Yeah, the slide you're talking about has Republicans. Actually, I'll let you talk about the slide. I don't want to explain it. It's your business.
I'm your number guy. So 51-39. Usually that's the top issue for when they say my top issue is the economy. And in Virginia, that's around 35-40%. They're breaking for Spanberger. Normally, when people say their top issue is the economy, like we're going to see out in New Jersey, they're voting Republican. And here you go, instant, nice work. So that's what you want to see if you're Earl Sears. So she's on the wrong side of the economy, a Republican issue, but she does have this wedge issue with Jones's text messages that if the race was to tighten, she could make it a little bit more controversial. But again, she's got to tighten it on the issues and then use some of these ancillary issues to supplement the main argument.
Andy, do you see her pivoting more tonight to talk more about the economy and other issues besides something she's been focused on, which is basically cultural issues and transgender issues?
The people I have been speaking with want her to do that, and they think that she has failed in not doing it sooner. And they are hoping that this opportunity for this debate tonight, which is their only joint gathering, will set the narrative for the rest of the campaign. I think we're 26 days out, and they're hoping that during those 26 days that she starts paying attention to education, healthcare, and of course the economy. And they also want, as part of what Spencer was talking about, that the commercial to continue of tying Spanberger together with Jay Jones. People, I mean, we've heard about the fundraisers that have been canceled because it just seemed, what I was told by someone who was going to go to one of them, just it seems odd, it seems uncomfortable because it's what everyone's talking about and they really don't want to talk about it. And so we will have to see exactly how Winsome Earl Sears is able to perform tonight on these issues, hoping to close the gap, but keeping that other issue, the big October surprise, alive and well and aggressive.
And there have been about 350,000 people who have already cast their ballots here in Virginia out of about 3 million or so. So about that 10% number that has Spencer alluded to. So a lot of votes left to count, whether it's early voting or on November 4th. So go ahead, Spencer.
But I'll just say is that this controversy has created an opportunity for Earl Sears because I think people are going to tune into this debate at a higher rate than who were going to tune in a week and a half ago. And they see the controversy and they want to hear from the candidates. And that's an opportunity to communicate to the voters directly. And we'll see who's more successful in persuading them over.
And Chris, one point real quick. Since yesterday, we all had a discussion yesterday. Since yesterday, the early voting has gone from 390,000 up to 421. So we had basically 32,000 more early votes just yesterday alone. So
some of those votes are being cast after people have learned about this controversy. So that's interesting. I'd be curious to know if anyone changed their mind, but we probably won't find out until November 4th. So we're going to take a quick break. Coming back, we're going to go back and check a bunch of other races we've been tracking for the past month here on Political Power Ranker. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Political Power Ranker, where we're talking all things elections that are going on right now in 2025, and there's a couple of big ones. And Spencer, let's go to the Garden State, New Jersey. We were just there last week. Jack Ciattarelli versus Mikey Sherrill, both open seat. Phil Murphy is termed out. So that race, remind everyone where that race is at on your last poll.
Yeah, we have this race very competitive, 43-43 as a toss-up. And you can see here with the very likely voter and the somewhat likely voter, that very likely voter is breaking for Ciattarelli, suggesting that there's a little bit more enthusiasm on the Republican side. And the somewhat likely voter is voting for Sherrill, the Democrat, trying to find a little bit motivation there. And as we dig into those numbers, that second group that's somewhat likely are more female. And those should be stronger Sherrill voters. So we'll see if she's able to get them excited about her candidacy moving forward.
And then there's one big factor, and you've alluded to it, Phil Murphy. And this could, Mikey Sherrill wins. It's an extension of the Phil Murphy legacy and incumbency, if you will. Talk to us about where he stands.
Well, as you can see, overall, his numbers are underwater. He's got a 35% approval, he's in the 40s for his disapproval. So people aren't really thinking that this was a great second administration, second term. And so Sherrill's got to make the case that she will be different than Murphy, but not throw her, colleague under the bus. And I think we're seeing that in some of her communication strategies. But it looks like Murphy is leaving office on a downturn, and that might be a problem for the Democrats as they try to hold a third, win in a row here.
And what's really interesting, we did a forum last Friday with governor's candidates in New Jersey at Kean University up in Union, New Jersey. And we asked Mikey Sherrill to grade Phil Murphy's 8 years in office. And here's what she said.
I think I'd give him about a B. He certainly has paid into the pension. He's had the credit rating increased 9 times, which is great. But I'm also really frustrated. I think there's a culture in Trenton that needs to have a culture shift, a get-to-know culture that needs to be a work with the citizens of New Jersey culture. I'm frustrated with where we are in electricity cost, and that the red tape and bureaucracy has not been appropriately addressed. And so we are not getting new projects into the ground to drive down costs for people.
So a B, a solid B. You're okay, but not too okay. Spence, is that enough of a step away from Murphy to say to a voter, I'm not really aligned completely with him, but I'm still a Democrat, so I kind of like him?
Well, you got to remember, Murphy wins 2 statewide races to be governor, and so she needs those votes. So she can't throw him under the bus. I think the voters would probably give him more of a D, C- type of grade when you look at his approval rating, being a little bit underwater, and in the 35, that would equal like a C-. But again, she needs those voters, and he has a lot of voters. So if she antagonizes and says, hey, they made mistakes, then she might lose that vote. They may not come out. So she's got a very delicate balance. And I think the B was probably, from a political communication standpoint, the right grade to give.
Now, the one thing we know about New Jersey that voters are passionate about are taxes. And then, well, most of the country is, I guess. But New Jerseyans kind of get it coming from all different directions. And I think you've got a graphic on that. We talked a little bit about it last week or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we saw this here as a property tax issue here in New Jersey. And again, both sides are trying to play the blame game. So for the Republicans, they want to blame the governor for everything because he's a Democrat. And for the Democrats, they want to kind of spread the blame around to the federal government and different agencies. And they've been somewhat successful. But we're going to continue to track these numbers because if you see that the governor is being blamed for high property taxes or high electric bills, utility costs, that's going to hurt Sherrill at the end of the day, the Democratic candidate. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword. She's got an unpopular governor that she's got to kind of juice up, but she's got her own campaign that has to separate herself enough that they don't think a third term is coming, where right now people don't see New Jersey going in the right direction.
And what's interesting, as I stated earlier, we did a lieutenant governor's debate up in New Jersey last Tuesday. And the Republican candidate, Jim Gannon, was asked about taxes. And he said, basically, they're not off the table, which blew up into a huge controversy because Jack Ciattarelli has been campaigning on no new taxes. So like a diligent group of journalists, we had Jack Ciattarelli on stage on Friday night and said, so Jack, what do you think about taxes? And what your lieutenant governor said. And here is what Dan Manarino received from Jack Ciattarelli about his question about taxes.
Is a millionaire's tax on the table in your administration if you win?
Taxes are on the table.
Taxes are on the table. So what are the taxes on the table that Mr. Gannon's speaking of?
He's lieutenant governor. I'm the governor. There will be no tax increases in New Jersey. I have a very specific plan on how to reduce income taxes and property taxes.
So I'm the governor candidate, not him. we know who's in charge. What did you think of that response?
Yeah, that was very important because here you're running as a ticket. So, we talk about the Virginia controversies. You kind of run individual races in Virginia, but here you're on a ticket. So what one person says is going to impact the other. And he had to clean that up immediately because you don't want to muddy the water on who's going to increase taxes or lower taxes. If you're the Republican, you should be on the side. Their messaging would be to decrease taxes. So I think he had to clean that up pretty quickly.
And he did. He was very adamant about there will not be any increasing taxes coming from Trenton if a Jack Ciattarelli is voted into office. So very adamant, and he was ready to move off that topic too when Dan moved on to the next question. Awesome. Now that's New Jersey. Next door neighbor is New York and New York City, the mayor's race. We've had a few developments. There's one less person on the screen since last we spoke. Spencer, remind everyone what the latest numbers are for the New York mayor's race.
So when we did the last poll in the mayor's race, Mayor Adams was still running, and he was pulling about 5% of the vote. And you had Mamdani winning by about 15 points. When we asked the question over Cuomo, when we take out Adams and Sliwa from that vote, you can see it tightens to 7 points. So Cuomo wins over some of the Cuomo, the Sliwa vote and of the Adams vote, but I don't know if it's going to be enough of that vote to actually carry the day. So right now, Adams is out. But if Sliwa stays in the race, that pretty much makes it a tough path for Cuomo to get to the finish line. But even if Sliwa was to drop out, what we see in the polling is that almost half of the Sliwa vote wouldn't vote. So they're not going to vote for either of the candidates, which would be a problem for Cuomo, because he not only needs these candidates to drop out, he needs full endorsements and their votes to shift over. He's been stuck in the high 20s, low 30s, and obviously in a two-person race, you'd have to get to 50%. So it looks like Mamdani's still in the driver's seat.
I'm going to throw you a curveball here because this just happened in the past 24 hours on the day we're recording, but the peace accord that has been announced to end the war in Gaza with Israel and Hamas, does that help Mamdani, who's got strong support from the Palestinian community, or does it hurt him because energy behind that issue may dissipate?
Yeah, it's a really interesting situation that we're in, but in my opinion, a positive situation of peace. So I think it'll kind of take away some of that edge off of the Democratic side and help Mamdani, because there's a lot of dislike between the two sides on that issue. Cuomo was going after the Jewish vote and the Muslim vote, and you could see the protest happening outside of those respective sites. So I think now that the war may be coming to an end, those sides where it was really the Democratic coalition that got split over this issue, they may start to see some healing process of their own and bring them back together. I don't think it'll be enough to move Cuomo over the edge. He'll need some other issue to pop in.
Great analysis. Now let's move on to one last location, California, where we've got Prop 50, which is basically gerrymandering an additional 5 districts to add more Democratic seats and getting rid of the debate commission basically for a cycle or two. So this is where you last found it. Let's talk about the slide.
Yeah, so we saw that the approval had increased 51 to 34. When we asked this issue back in August, it was like 32-25. So what we're seeing is those undecided voters in our first poll were breaking for the proposal by about 2 to 1. If that number is to hold, it'll pass about 60-40. We'll see if the Republicans or the conservative side that's against it, the Schwarzenegger ads, if they're able to move the needle at all. But I don't really see a very strong concerted effort to defeat this. And with a 17-point lead, I'm not sure what the other side's going to do to counter that, as early voting is, again, going to start out there. And we'll have those final polls at the end of the month.
We've seen other polling outfits too, reflecting what you reported a week or two ago, that of Prop 50 gaining momentum, and it seems to be gaining more momentum. Republicans are spending a little bit less money now, according to reports. So it's an interesting dynamic, how much a shift. But I would like to take our PPR regular viewers to California right now, because reporter Nikki Lorenzo, who you all know, has this update for us on Prop 50.
All right, voting is underway here in California for this special election over redistricting. Ballots are in the mail, people are filling them out, and both campaigns are hoping that they turn them back in. This really is going to be about voter turnout. I'm told that the Yes on 50 side, they're feeling very confident. There's some internal polling saying that this is going to pass close to 60% also. Polling that has been released to the public, even just this week, shows the 50 side winning this. Numbers very similar to what you found, Spencer, when you did the poll just a couple of weeks ago. But I will say the no side releasing quite a few ads. I watch a lot of football, both college and professional, and every commercial break you're seeing ads for them. It's almost back to back, a yes on 50 ad, and then the next ad will be a no on 50 ad. But this is all going to be about turnout. This is a special election. Which side is going to prevail? Again, if Gavin Newsom can come out on top here, he is going to have all of the momentum to potentially run for president.
Wow, it's just interesting to see how it went from a likely no to a likely yes in just a very short period of time, Spence. We got to take a quick break before we run out of time here. And we got to get to our favorite part of the show, which is who's up and who's down this week. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Political Power Ranker. You have caught us at the best part of the show, the most fun. Who's up and who's down for this week in the first week of October, first full week. Spencer, who do you got up this week?
Well, we're keeping our eye there in Virginia, and in that Attorney General's race, Jason Miyares is up this week, in part because his opponent, Jay Jones, is down this week. And that we'll see if there's an opportunity. Jay Jones had a 5-6 point lead in those polls. They seem to have tightened. If he starts trailing in those polls, it'll be interesting if he stays in the race.
So, Andy, let's bring Andy Fox in again from Wavy TV with a couple final thoughts on that and the debate. That Andy is, as Eric mentioned, there's really no upside for Jay Jones to drop out at this juncture because his name's still going to be on the ballot, and people are looking for a Democrat to vote for in a lot of cases. So, what are you thinking? What are you hearing as a final thought?
Well, we've seen some things like this happen before, and they are hoping for some Teflon. Democrats are for Jay Jones. They think it's silly talk to even consider that he would get out of the race. As you mentioned, the ballots have been printed. They're ready to go, and they are just hoping that he muddles along the best he can, hopes from some Teflon, hopes that he's able to survive this and that he would become the next attorney general. But they also believe that it could be within the margin of error now because of the fallout from the controversy.
Andy, thank you very much. Spencer, always great to see you. And folks, thanks for watching another great show with the help of our good friends, Andy and Spencer. Please vote if you're in Virginia, New Jersey, New York. Make sure you do that. Until then, or until next week, we'll see you later, and I'll be doing a debate.